Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the business and the SillyVille editions. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to catch the show live, interact with everybody, and whatnot. But anyway, we're going to dive right on into the news. First, we have an update. TurboTax has reached a settlement. The Attorney General secures $141 million for millions of Americans. So, $141 million for millions of Americans. So what, is everybody getting $1? This is the problem with some of these things. So New York will receive $5.4 million for 176,000 New Yorkers. Okay, so that's good for New York. Maybe more settlements are coming on down the pipeline. So the background of this, of course, is that TurboTax said to the IRS, "Hey, we'll handle the free filing," and then they advertised everything as free. But the vast majority of people who should have certainly qualified for free taxes got to the very end after inputting all the data and were charged by TurboTax anyway, making them a slimy company. And this is them having to pay some of that money back. But, you know, I mean, I think they need to pay back 3 times whatever they defrauded. Like, oh, that's going to hurt our bottom line. Good. Stop being deceptive, you morons. So glad to see that happen. Another lawsuit has been filed on the basis that Fitbits are burning more people. This one includes gross pictures, so I had to include them. Basically, these are more models. We covered this before. Fitbits were burning people, so people sent them back. Google was saying, hey, send your Fitbits back. We're going to basically give you a sweet deal on a brand new one. So you send them back, you get a full credit and a coupon off of a brand new one. So you could basically trade in your old Fitbit that you had, get something more modern that, you know, may not be burning your skin. But you never really know, because these are some photos of people who were actually wearing these. So this is where the CE is. This is where the HR sensor is. You can see the nice burn around them. This is worn on the left wrist. Ooh, look at that. That's lovely. Supposed burn from either a Fitbit Sense or a Versa. The user did not say which one it was. Here's the burn. User says, you clearly can see the marks from the charging ports on my wrist from the Fitbit 3. And here's an alleged burn from a Fitbit Sense. So there are more cases being filed. Lawsuit seeks class action status, represent customers in California, Florida, Illinois, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Oregon, and Washington. So, yeah, more bad news for Fitbit. And guys, I'm just going to remind you once again, Fitbit is owned by Google. By using Fitbit, you are consenting to send all of your private health data to Google's servers so they can utilize it against you, and they buy and sell in the health insurance trade. You shouldn't be using Fitbits anyway. UK is allegedly releasing some tougher consumer protections against malicious apps. The problem is, I read their articles, I read other articles. They basically said, hey, you need to make apps more secure and more private. They didn't specify how, why, whatever else. So basically, everybody happens to get in here, and it's kind of like an open proposal period. But the idea is they want to have a code of practice for minimum security. The only solid thing stated in the document is they want to require every app on a store, and this would apply to app stores like Apple Store, Google Play Store, any other third-party store. It would apply to smart TVs, Roku, anything that has apps that you can buy, video game consoles, things like that. Anything with apps you can buy, has to be a way to report security vulnerabilities. That is the only thing in here that is solid. Everything else is basically a bunch of fluff to say, we need standards to make this more secure and more private, but they're not saying what those standards are. It's kind of like an open invitation, basically, for the collaboration of everybody to figure out what exactly these terms mean. So it's good in practice, or in theory, but practice, we have zero details yet. So it's the very early phases of this. So keep an eye out for this, and maybe we'll see something come down the pipeline here. And with that, maybe we'll have secure apps down the road, but I highly doubt it because there's just too many apps to audit them all. Except that's what F-Droid does, audits their apps. Well, another lawsuit. Netflix shareholders are suing over subscription disclosures. Of course, if you have been following any of the stock news, you know that shares are down 68% of Netflix. They're basically dying. They're bleeding subscribers. They thought it'd be a wonderful deal to skimp on their own productions. Everybody else pulled their good shows out that people signed with Netflix for anyway. All that's left is Netflix exclusives. Nearly all of them completely suck and are horrible and going absolutely woke. And on top of this, now they're trying to charge more, raising the rates, and trying to get more money out of you if you're trying to, share a password with, your kid who's at college or something. Like, you're sharing your passwords. How dare you? And so all of these things are culminating together to a massive drop. But apparently Netflix, the company, did not tell the shareholders about the loss of subscribers over the last few quarters. And because of this, they held on where otherwise they might have sold. And so now they are beginning to file a class action lawsuit. If things continue to fall down and a class action lawsuit succeeds against them, it may very well be the end of Netflix. Somebody, please somebody, get a trumpet and play the taps. I had to include this, van life and all. Starlink's new portability feature brings internet to van lifers. This would be fun, have a little satellite dish. Now, you can't use it while you're driving, allegedly, and you basically have to have this huge dish, and then whenever you stop the boondock, you set the dish out. Here's the huge advantage of this. Speaking as a van lifer and out here in the world, most places I actually am getting really good internet. This would be beneficial for those cool places I want to go to that have no internet at all. This would actually be a game changer for that. The downside is right now, there's two downsides going for it. Of course, number one is the cost. Now, I'm still paying $155 a month for my internet for a limit of 150 gigabytes. They right now do not have a limit, and it's 110, so it's slightly cheaper. Downside, I have to get a $600 upfront investment. Not all that bad. My cellular modem was 300, so that's actually not horrible. Now, if I want to have the mobile feature, it's an extra 25. I would actually be paying slightly less for this, assuming it all worked. But there is one huge factor that says, not for me in the way I work. This device is 60 to 70 watts. That is a crap ton of power. For comparison, mine draws 2 watts, 3 watts. I think it's rated at 5 watts. It's rated at 5 watts, 3 amps maximum, but in practice it draws 1 to 3 is what mine's drawing. Meaning I can crank the thing on, I can turn it on in the morning, I can basically leave it on all day. I don't have any problems with that. 60 to 70 watts, you must use internet sparingly. Most van lifers, most people in RVs, they do not have the capabilities of running this. It's cool in theory. It's great if you need to get on the internet for an hour or two. But in my case where I'm work on the internet, I'm on the internet all day, I'm doing streams from the internet, this is not a viable solution because of the power draws right now. Now, the next thing I would need to consider based on Luke Smith's experience, is it Wi-Fi only, which is completely useless for me. I don't connect things to Wi-Fi unless I absolutely have to. Now, some of them, apparently, you can get an Ethernet port. Some of them are Wi-Fi only. If I cannot get an Ethernet port to feed my router, it's already a no-go. So there are some of the factors involved. It's very interesting to see it coming down the pipeline. It'd be cool if we could see maybe a micro tower that gets maybe a little bit less bandwidth, still works, gets a little bit less bandwidth for significantly less power. But if anybody from Starlink is watching this, I got news for you. The one thing you're going to need to do to make this viable for van lifers, The one factor, you got to find a way to cut the power draw. The cost isn't bad. The monthly service fee isn't bad. Bandwidth, I mean, we don't need, gigabit bandwidth. We don't need 120, most of us. I'm good with, 20, 30. So even if you need to do a low power option, which cuts the bandwidth a little bit to significantly cut the power, that is the game-changing factor. It is the power is where we're at right now. And of course, giving us the ability to use Ethernet connections would also be a benefit as well. But anyway, that was a fascinating story. Had to include it. #Vanlife. Of course, you can follow my channel at Tux Traveler on YouTube to see where I'm going with my van life as well. So you can go ahead and do that. And Amazon Kindle will allegedly support ePub format by late 2022. Very interesting. Now, this is, I don't know, I think this is more of a convenience factor than anything, but they've announced that the modern Kindle e-readers will support the most popular ebook format in the world, ePub. Company reportedly updated their Send to Kindle documentation, stated it will add support for ePub later this year. Send to Kindle will suspend the ability to load Mobi since it's an older file format and won't be supported in new Kindle features. Interesting. So if you have Mobi books already in your Kindle, they will continue to be accessible, but you cannot send more Mobis. Okay, that's interesting to know. So what's this mean in general? Right now, I think there's two formats you can send to Amazon. If you have ePubs and you need to get them on your Kindle, it's not like rocket science to get them there. Your Kindle has an email address associated with it, which is tied to your Amazon account / your Kindle address. You can find the Kindle address. You use Calibri. You load up your ePub and you simply convert to a .mobi file and you email it to yourself. So you can always load any book that you had into your Kindle. So this is more of a convenience factor for anything else, but it's interesting to see that they're dropping the Mobi book format. And they're also disabling the AZW to the Kindle. That's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens when this finally rolls out. Just to be aware. Okay, update looks like Amazon's converting the uploaded ePub to KF8, Amazon AZW3. So it looks like it may not support ePub natively. Okay. So what? If your objective is to read your ePubs that you download from Project Gutenberg on your Kindle, it doesn't matter what the format is as long as you can send it to your Kindle and read it. That, I think, is what the important point is. The question is, will we be able to convert our current ePubs to AZW3 for testing and whatever else? My inclination says yes, because a lot of the publishing industry uses these to push out preprint releases of books. So that's an interesting factor to look at. So that's kind of good news for people utilizing Kindle, that it looks like it may support open formats, or at least you can just send open formats to it, whatever the case happens to be. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, we do have a store, shop.switchedtolinux.com. You can head on over there, get yourself some t-shirts, bags, and whatever else with aliens and tinfoil hats and all sorts of other fun stuff over here. So with that, have a look over there, shop.switchedtolinux.com. First up in SillyVille, Starbucks, the latest to join the NFT fad. Of course, NFTs are starting to die out if you've started to notice a little bit. You know, that first amazing tweet, now it's worth... I wonder if that tweet would be worth a whole lot more now that the Musk may be in charge. That would be... I wonder if that'll affect the price of the Twitter NFTs. What about the last Trump NFT? Is the tweet? Is that going to be an NFT? Who knows, man? Oh! Anyway, Starbucks announces plans for NFTs just as digital asset sales. So they revealed Web 3.0 strategy will involve creating authentic digital third-place experiences through the use of non-fungible tokens. Coffee maker already too late to cash in. Why bother? Why bother? So, yeah, I guess it's... I don't even know. Like, I just cannot wrap my head around the stupidity of collecting NFTs at the world's worth coffee shop. I mean, really, blah. I mean, and here's the funny thing. Starbucks coffee beans are some of the best in the world. The morons at Starbucks apparently just don't know how to make coffee. You buy Starbucks beans, you take them home, and you make coffee at home. Excellent coffee. You buy Starbucks coffee for an overpriced cost of like your left arm and your left leg, and additionally like $15 or something. You get nasty coffee that tastes like garbage. I haven't figured this out before. How can a coffee shop not know how to make coffee? Well, apparently they don't know how to make money either, because the NFT stuff is about to fail. So, yeah, that's exciting. This news is both hilarious and frightening at the same time. From the Communist News Network, Russians plunder $5 million in farm vehicles from Ukraine. Yeah, but John Deere remotely disabled them. Now, of course, the funny thing is, yeah, the big bad evil Putin steals from the little sad perfect Ukrainians, and they steal from it, and they get their what's coming to them because John Deere remotely disables tractors. People look at this, ha, take that, Putin. Here's the sad part, though. When John Deere decides they don't want you to run your tractor in your fields, guess what? They can do the same. This is not a good thing, folks. It is hilarious, yes. It is really funny that they did this. It's actually amazing stuff. But at the same time, it is frightening that John Deere can simply remotely disable tractors, because that means that there is some form of kill switch that can apply to everything that's going all around us. And this is the problem with the modern world. Of course, hey, not a bad deal if your tractor gets stolen, but at what point in time can somebody kick that switch, or does it just go off, or something else happens that you can no longer, plow your fields when food prices are starting to soar, and we need every piece of farm equipment on, running at all times. These are good things to keep in mind, but yeah, it's kind of hilarious to see that. Well, this terrifying Fisher-Price baby's first gamepad. Okay, there's a few things to be said about this. Number one, who would buy this demented thing for their child? Okay? Let me know in the comments. Do you have this demented thing in your house? Number two, why does your child need a Fisher-Price gamepad? To addict them to video games at a younger age? I'm barely out of the womb. I can't even talk yet, but I'm already addicted to Elden Ring. Yeah, this guy modded this creature of a joypad to play Elden Ring. So yeah, I never thought I'd never be writing about my baby's first Fisher-Price gamepad again, but here we go. Modder has turned the cheap tune-filled toy into a complete Xbox gamepad. Everything you need to play Elden Ring. Incredibly, he did so without losing any of the Fisher-Price built-in sound effects, meaning you can pair it and run such classic kiddie hits as 1, 2, 3, 4, up goes your score, and orange, purple, white, and pink, green, and blue, woo. Oh, Lord. But you can play at the same time. For some reason, none of the tweets loaded. Why are my tweets not loading? These tweets are all just videos of him playing the game. Let's see if I picked one that actually works, right? There you go. Look at that. Go. Go, Twitter. Go. Go, Twitter. Go. Yeah, baby. Look at that. Woohoo! Okay, I take it all back. I might just want to get me one of these terrifying things. Well, Microsoft teams up with Volkswagen to make HoloLens work in cars. God help us. No. God help us. This is going to be bad. We are gamifying our driving. 3D map and navigation. Ooh, you have your turn. Okay, if you're so lame you cannot navigate the streets without a voice, like a video overlay. This thing where this arrow is, this is going to be obstructing a car in this lane that you can't see, by the way, just an FYI. So here is a holographic pedestrian warning. So what's going on here? This is another potentially dangerous thing here. Now they're putting people where there aren't actually people because the HoloLens detects, hey, this is a crosswalk. So rather than getting out of your way so you can see if there's people there, HoloLens puts people where there aren't people in augmented reality to distract your driving. And I have to drive on the road with this moron. God help us. Help us. Help us. We do not need Microsoft putting augmented reality in our cars. We don't need it. This is terrifying. Oh boy. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TOMM. That will help support what we are doing with Switch to Linux and the other channels. So with that, guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.